So this is part 2, and after I've sprayed the molds, I'm going to babysit the water bath. I have some melting going on here, and I stirred it up a little bit with my stir rod to my glass stir rod to loosen up the magnetic stir bar that is at the bottom, which is not freely turning right now, but you want to keep an eye on that. And I am also putting in the thermometer and watching for that temperature change, and it's climbing, and it isn't climbing that steadily, so I may turn up the heat a little bit. So what I've been doing here is kind of breaking up the melted or the unmelted pellets with the glass stir bar, and kind of using the thermometer to help me along, not being too violent with the thermometer. And you can see that it's still hanging around 32, but we do have some melt going on. Just a side note about why we have to monitor the temperature. There are usually 2 reasons. One is because we could damage the base and turn it into a different form, and that is most commonly occurring with cocoa butter base. The SPG suppository base is a little bit more stable than that. In this case, we're probably monitoring the temperature because the active ingredient nifedipine will probably be harmed by going beyond 45 degrees centigrade. So I am still melting the base, and temperature is at 35, and I am trying to help the stir bar along, and I've also turned up the stir bar to about almost full speed. I have this particular benchmark going at I have it at a 7. So just try to keep it between 40 and 45 degrees, and it's at 35 right now, but we are seeing a good deal of melt. Okay, at a setting of 7, it is climbing rapidly, so I am backing off on the temperature. And we're at 40 now. So what I had to do, because it actually hit 45 degrees, was I removed the beaker from the water bath. But as you can see, it is completely melted. So at this point, what we'll do is we will remove the stir bar using the retriever and set it in the weigh boat that we saved to put all of our stuff in to keep the counter clean. And we're going to bring our melt over to the counter and add our mixture to the melt, making sure you get everything out of the mortar and pestle, and stir this in quickly. Sorry about that. So it says to use a high shear mixing technique. We're going to have to use our glass stirring rod for this step. While someone is stirring the mix, we're going to put our suppository mold back together again. And there will be 2 molds for every 4 students. Some groups will have less than 4. So you're going to be putting them back together. Do and tighten all 3 bolts. And now the mold's been put back together, And now, and we obviously removed the mixture from the heat. And according to the next step, which is mold filling, sorry about the focus here, we're going to fill the mold cavities. So you're going to have 12 between 4 people, 2 for each mold, and then we're going to pour it in. So if the mixture starts to solidify, we want to reheat it. So the directions say to wait until this has thickened somewhat to a lotion-like consistency, and then we will pour them into the mold. You will have 2 molds on your napkin, and you will also want to stir it before you pour it to prevent settling of the nifedipine. So we want to be continuously stirring until it becomes a lotion-like consistency. It's pourable, and it's starting to thicken a little bit more. So I'm going to pour it into the cavity. For the center one, you can see that I did not pour it all the way up to the top or over pour it. When you over pour, what you'll end up with is a contraction, and the amount will then fill the cavity. So I have over poured, and you can see that I over poured these. I already poured these about 5 minutes ago, and they are contracting somewhat, so you do want to over pour it a little bit. Now when you have the second set of rectal rackets ready to go, this is about how much you'll have left, and then you can go ahead and pour those in the same way. We're then going to let these sit until next week, and you can take those out and weigh them while we're waiting for your counseling to take place. One last thing, before these get removed from the suppository mold, we will be using a heated spatula to remove any excess from the solidified suppository.